All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to this meeting. I see a few folks I'm not familiar with. So the way that these dev meetings go is that we just take some time up front, the OB1 team, to explain what we have been doing over the past 2 weeks, and what's also going to be upcoming. And then we let anyone in the community talk about projects they're working on or ask any questions they have. Got a list of about 5 things this week, so I'll go ahead and kick it off. Feel free to ask questions in the public chat, which you can access on the top left, and when we get around to it, we'll start answering those, or jump in via voice as well. That's fine too. So, the past couple weeks, there have been a few things that we've been focused on. One is some bug fixes for an upcoming 2.5 release, and we anticipate having a release candidate out for that this week, with the goal of having a full release out hopefully sometime early next week. OB1 team, are there notable bug fixes in this release that are worth mentioning?
Sorry, no. I believe the majority of the bug fixes are kind of house cleaning items and minor UI details. I know that we had some caching endpoints that were going to be added to this on the server end. We had a bunch of linting changes that we're kind of working through to improve the state of the server code. We have some Docker improvements and migration bug fixes, but nothing substantial on the server end other than that.
I agree there. It's majority stuff that you wouldn't necessarily notice. There are some layout changes, some things that make the app look and act a little nicer. Some minor bug fixes for edge cases, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. All right, thank you. As I said, release candidate this week, hopefully new release next week. The second thing, and a lot of where the work is focused on now, is the multi-wallet work for the upcoming 2.3 release. Quite a bit has been done over the past few weeks on that. My understanding is that the majority of the APIs needed on the server side for multi-wallet have now been completed, and a lot of the work now is on the client side.
So hold on there, Matt. The APIs for the wallet interface have been completed. We still have a number to go on the server side for things like listings and orders.
Okay, the wallet. Okay, right. So clarifying, that's a good.
To clarify, there's 2 components to it.
Yeah.
The way our app works, the wallet's almost its own separate app.
Right.
And so we've built the APIs to the new multi-wallet, but now we have to do the same work to the rest of the app.
Right. So the wallet itself is, I don't know if I'd say done, but I mean it's a substantial proportion of the work on the server side has been completed. But as Josh points out, that's not everything that needs to be done in order to switch to this multi-wallet approach that's being done in 2.3. And just to clarify for those not familiar with what changes are happening, right now you have to use 1 coin per node. That's just a hard limitation. And this new change is going to allow the same node to use multiple coins. So that's the big thing that's upcoming in 2.3, and those are the changes that are happening right now to get to that point. Also, on that same note, on the mobile application side, now there is a packaged build that is running with the multi-wallet right now on mobile devices. So that's exciting to see, because I know we don't do a lot of updates on the mobile stuff on this call, but that has sort of been a blocking issue for development, or at least it slowed it down for a while. So now that has picked up again, which is exciting to see. All right, is there anything more to mention on the multi-wallet work, the 2.3 work?
I don't think so. I think that covers it.
All right, the next thing.
It may be interesting to say that we have been working on a tool to test our insight infrastructure, and
yeah, that was the next thing on the list.
Sorry, didn't mean to jump.
No, you're all right. You're all right. I should share my list with you guys beforehand. Probably a good idea. Yeah. So the third thing is the insight server. So okay, in switching over to this new architecture, we're going to be relying on external servers to be able to see, and talk to the various blockchains that we're going to be working with. And we decided that we're, at least the plan for now, is to use Insight servers. But in order to make sure that those Insight servers are actually going to be reliable enough for us to use, because we have experienced some issues in testing with them, some sort of flakiness, we have built basically a tool to be able to monitor them and test them and see how well they perform. And Mike, you've been the one building that. Anything more you'd like to add on this tool?
No, there's not too much interesting there. Really, this is about benchmarking the server and making sure that it's going to be adequate for us, so we can scale up our tool and really punish our servers to make sure that they'll stand up when the load actually comes and is needed. I don't know if there's any interest from the community, but we haven't discussed open sourcing the tool, but I could see there possibly being some value to other people as well in this. So if there's interest there, feel free to ask after the meeting.
Yeah, we could talk to BitPay folks too. I mean, I'd just be curious what sort of testing they do in terms of reliability, because I believe it. I mean, they built Inside Out, right? They did, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Also, it's been cleverly named Hindsight to test the Insight servers. So I think that was Brian's naming contribution. Well done. So that one's neat to see as well. The next thing I have on the list is a new naming system built on Ethereum called Wharf. And this, so naming has always been sort of one of those things that we have struggled with to find a right solution. And this is basically an experiment to see if we could build our own simple naming system. And Samit has been working on this, so I'm going to let him talk about that.
Hi guys, yeah, as Sam said, we are working on WARF NS, or Worldwide OpenBazaar Resource Finder Naming Service. So I guess, yeah, so we call it WARF NS. WARF is a character from the Star Trek series. I think you guys know that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So basically, this WARF NS is a simple naming service, and it's quite different from other decentralized naming services like ENS, right? So if you want to register a unique handle or human readable handles on ENS today, so the process is very cumbersome, right? You have to put your bids on your handles, then it goes through an auction process, a victory auction process, and if your bid is successful, then only you are going to get your handle. So overall, the process is quite complex or cumbersome in nature, right? So we built a WARF NS, and it's basically a simple naming service to register unique human readable handles that eventually map to OpenBazaar addresses, or as we call them, peer IDs, right? So this means that instead of finding a store using an address like a very, very long 32-bit, 64-bit address, you can simply use your handle. And handle can be anything like your Twitter handle, right? Like I have a Twitter handle, Samit SI, or Dr. Washington has Dr. Washo. So you can simply register your handles and map it to your peer IDs. And later on, using your handle, you can find all the peer IDs, right? And registering a handle on this particular naming service is free. completely free, but not completely free. You have to pay the gas prices. Apart from that, there are no application level prices, right? So basically, it's a very simple naming service, and currently it's in proof of concept, and we have already deployed it on RingKB network and have built a sample test application on top of it. I'm going to post a link in the chat. You can go over here and test this particular application, smart contracts, right? But yeah, keep in mind it requires MetaMask and RingKB network, right? So that's basically what this WARF NS is, right? So it is not, I mean, it should not be seen as a competitor to ENS, right? I mean, it's altogether a different thing. Here you can register your handles on first come, first serve basis. So if you want certain handle, then, and if nobody has already taken it previously, then only you can take it, right? It's not like ENS or other naming system where, an auction process is started. So yeah, so this is an experiment from our side to make, this naming service easy, because so far we have seen all other naming services are not so easy or not so easy to use for general public or general users. So that's what we are trying to do with WARF-NS, making name service which is quite easy to do. So yeah, so this is what I guess in a nutshell WARF-NS is, and I would like you guys to give it a try and see how it works, and your suggestions, everything is welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Samit. Appreciate that. Chris Troutner asks, is it ready to use? And I believe it's ready to sort of try out. It's not integrated into the app or anything, but it's ready to test. And as Samit pointed out, you have to have some Ethereum tools already in order to use it. I'm not that familiar. Yeah.
Right, Chris. So yeah, so the link which I shared is ready to use in a test mode. And the contracts are deployed on RingKB network. I guess you understand what RingKB is. So you can simply open this link in your web browser, preferably Chrome, and you should have MetaMask installed in your Chrome as a plugin. And in MetaMask, you have to choose RingKB network, right? Once you do this, I think this particular application is ready to use in test mode, and you can see all the handles which are registered currently. You can even register your own handle out there, and you can play around the application.
Yeah, thank you, Samit.
Yes, Chris, it's using Ethereum test network, and it's RingKB. So there are multiple test networks out there for Ethereum, Ropsten, Kovan, and RingKB. So we are using RingKB as of now.
All right. So the last thing that I have noted on my list is actually something I already mentioned, which is that there is a build of the mobile wallet out there that has multi-wallet working now, which is great. So that's everything I have on the OB1 side. Is there anyone from OB1 that has anything to mention over the past 2 weeks that I've missed?
I would just like to mention that we are currently working on fleshing out more information about a token and what that might do and how it might fit into the picture as well. So hopefully we'll have more to share in the future.
Yep, very good. Moving forward, as I mentioned, we'll have the 225 release candidate out, and over the next few weeks, I think a lot of our focus will still be on the multi-wallet moving forward. And 2.3 won't be out, in the next few weeks, but that'll be where a lot of our focus will be. I do actually have one last point. Sorry, I forgot to mention that there has been more work on Ethereum integration specifically. Samit, do you have other details on that for us?
Yeah, so I guess Ashwin is moreover, working towards Ethereum integration these days into multi-wallets. So I guess Ashwin, if you want to, speak up on this, on our current Ethereum integration.
So it looks like Ashwin's connection to this is purely listening. There's not a mic set up on his end, so he may not be able to jump in and give us a full update.
No, we shouldn't expect anything from Ashwin. He has to reconnect.
I gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I don't. Oh, go ahead, Samit.
Yeah. So as far as I know, we are into the testing phase, and Ashwin is trying to actually integrate all the Ethereum integration into multi-wallet system, right? So I guess Ashwin is more towards this code development. I mean, integrating Ethereum into our multi-wallet system. And as far as from the smart contract perspective, so our smart contract is already ready, right, for escrow payments, and we are in talk with OpenZeppelin to get it audited. And our repository is already open source. I think we shared that repository in our last call. Let me share that again. Yeah, here's a link to the repository, right? So it contains our escrow smart contract and other stuff which will be used in Ethereum integration into the wallet, right? So yeah, so once the OpenZeppelin team gets done with their audit, and we are pretty sure that it's bulletproof, then I guess we'll make it completely into our wallet system, right? So yeah, so that's the update on Ethereum integration from my end.
All right, thank you. Chris Troutner asks if we have a link to the mobile wallet, and my understanding is there's not really a difference in the mobile wallet. It's not like a separate app. I mean, the way the mobile app works is the OpenBazaar Go server is going to be running on the device, so it's the same as the desktop wallet. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so there's no difference there, Chris. The regular OpenBazaar Go code applies on mobile as well. Okay, so that's everything that I had to note. I'd like to open it up to any questions or any updates from the community. I noticed there's a few names here, so if folks want to put in the chat or speak up on voice, sort of why they've come to the call, or if they have questions, please feel free to speak up.
This is Chris Troutner. I've got a couple things. I wanted to give just a quick update on P2P VPS and sort of how it is interfacing with OpenBazaar. And then I also had a couple comments on just the idea of fostering, getting more developers to join this call and sort of developer outreach. Real quick on P2P VPS, which rides on top of OpenBazaar, uses OpenBazaar for all the transactions. I just put a link in the chat to our latest monthly project update. It's pretty exciting. We got, not only can you rent a VPS from a peer, you can and offer your own hardware up for rent. There's payments or a prototype for payments is now in place. So when a rental contract completes, you will automatically be paid. There's no human interaction. It's all automated. We use Bitcoin Cash on top of OpenBazaar right now. And so what happens is when a rental contract completes, we use the OpenBazaar API and the wallet for the store, and it'll automatically calculate the payment and send the Bitcoin Cash payment to the device owner. And we also have prorated rentals. So if you have a device that you are renting out and for some reason it loses internet connection, and you're not fulfilling the terms of the contract, the server will automatically calculate a prorated amount and send that prorated amount back to the renter, and then you can all start the process over again. Sorry, I got a tractor going by. Let me shut my door 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. And then the other update I wanted to give in terms of development outreach. I just had a few ideas I wanted to throw out there. I've been getting pretty involved with Bitcoin.com, and they have this developer area. And regardless of how you feel about Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin.com, I think they're doing a really impressive job with developer outreach with these tutorials. And particularly, there's a lot of ideas out there on how exactly to create tokens on top of the Bitcoin Cash network. There's the two biggest contenders I'm seeing right now is SLP, and then there's this new contender, Wormhole, which is being pushed by Bitmain. And so Bitcoin.com just released or just brought on the developer of Bitbox, which is a JavaScript SDK for doing Bitcoin Cash transactions. And then he created a second sort of like an add-on SDK for the Wormhole Cache. And that's only been out for a couple weeks, and I've been playing with it pretty hard. Because it's all JavaScript. It's all REST APIs. which is definitely, if you when people start learning JavaScript, that's one of the first things they learn is how to make an AJAX call and how to deal with REST APIs in JavaScript. So it feels very native. It abstracts a lot of the low-level complication that is Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and blockchain. It abstracts a lot of that away, so you're just dealing with JavaScript libraries. And so for me personally, it's great. But I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned there in their developer outreach. And I think that's a good example of sort of an organization starting out, trying to do developer outreach and doing it right. And then I also wanted to mention Library IO. So most of what I'm saying right now is targeted at Jen and Sam. But I think you guys are both familiar with Library IO. Their CEO, Jeremy Kaufman, is an advisor to P2P VPS, and I know he's got a relationship with Chris Pacia, but he is just, over the last 6 months, has just consistently impressed me, both with the ingenuity of his ideas for fostering a community, and then also on the execution. So I would definitely, if you guys, I know you guys, everyone in OpenBazaar is heads down, bringing new features out, and I think that's great. I don't think you guys should change any of that, but when if you guys are scratching your heads asking how can we engage more developers and bring more developers in, I think these two links I just posted up are really good examples. Again, the Bitcoin stuff's kind of a new. They're just gearing up to reach out to developers, whereas Library.io is more of a mature community. And Jeremy's really approachable, and he's really willing to give advice to anybody who wants to hear it. So yeah, that's all I had to say. I just wanted to kind of inspire you guys.
All right, thanks, Chris. Appreciate the inspiration. Yeah, we've had sort of a informal, I guess, relationship with library folks. But if Jeremy's a good example of someone doing this kind of stuff, it might be worth reaching out and just asking his thoughts on how to do that. So thank you.
I know him and Chris Pacia have
they're geographically in the same area. And I'll look more into the Bitcoin stuff. My brother's really into the token stuff on top of Bitcoin Cash, but I have not taken the time to dive into that or their tools. So I'll take a look at that as well.
Yeah, and if for some reason anybody listening is interested in that whole wormhole token thing, I've been following it pretty closely. I've got example code. I think it's pretty neat. So reach out to me if you're interested.
Great. Yeah, and on that point, if any folks here are not in the OpenBazaar Slack, I highly recommend that you do so. It's a good way to reach other people in the community and continue these kinds of conversations. I noticed in the chat that Yesh, I'm not sure Yishi, how to pronounce that name, but you mentioned that you're setting up a web hosting VPS service and want to help us out. Not sure how to. I would definitely recommend joining the Slack, and if you're not already in there, and hitting us up and basically explaining more in depth what you're doing and ways that you think you could be helpful. I mean, if you're a technical person, then certainly we can always use other people reviewing the code, submitting pull requests, just basically taking a look at it. If you're not familiar with the repositories, there are two primary ones. One is on the server side in Go, and then the other is the client side, primarily JavaScript. And there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and it might be intimidating to look at all of the open issues and everything. But again, taking a look, joining in Slack and asking around is a good place to start. And also, I mean, Chris Troutner, who was just talking, and you can see he's posted some links in chat. I mean, his peer-to-peer VPS service is something interesting. If you're just getting off the ground, maybe you should chat with him as well.
Yeah, I'll just point out that it's very alpha, so it's not mature. So if someone is actually like offering VPS services right now, I just put this in the chat that there's currently, I've looked, I'm pretty confident when I say that I don't think anyone is offering OpenBazaar store hosting, which there's definitely a learning curve if you're trying to set up a remote server. I'd love to see someone offer that as a service.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We actually had 2 companies offering OpenBazaar hosting on 1.0. And because 2.0 reduces the need to have a store running all the time, those companies didn't stick around. Well, also, they probably didn't have enough users. I don't know the details of why they didn't stick around. But regardless, I don't know if there's sufficient demand to support, a serious effort on that part or not. But it is something that, as far as I know, no one else is offering at the moment. And as Chris pointed out, it is kind of a power user sort of thing right now. Like, your average person is not going to run a remote OpenBazaar server and easily connect a local client to it. It's kind of a pain in the behind. So if someone created a really simple way to do that, or even just a really, really good tutorial or script or something, then that could be useful. All right. Well, are there other folks in the chat who would like to ask questions or make comments, talk about what they're working on?
I'll say thanks for joining our meeting, guys, and being part of our community. Appreciate that.
Yep, I do appreciate that. Please continue the conversation on Slack, and hopefully we'll see you guys in another couple weeks.